Oh, heaven help us if that's why I'm the leader. Because that shit's not going to go great.
I just feel better that the guy who's in charge is the one making the mistakes. Takes the pressure off.
See, I wish that were like the case at work. Because I don't feel great at work when that happens.
Oh, I'm sorry I booted you out of the meeting today, but you
You
weren't
didn't.
responding.
No.
Oh, you were there and I kicked you out.
I was there, and then at the end, I thought we must have like done it at nearly the same time because I thought I hit end. Yeah, I was there in my car driving home and listening and stuff.
I figured you were unable to just easily hit the button, so
Yeah.
I took care of it. Yeah.
I appreciate that. Elon Musk has not figured out a way for me to successfully, safely Zoom from my car while I'm driving. So
I'm sure they're working on it. That's what that camera is in your rearview mirror.
I'm sure it's what it is. A live stream, Google Meet / Zoom.
To look at the looks of horror on people's faces as their car drives them into a ditch.
Yep. Yeah. So I figured if nothing else, what we could do was spend maybe about 10 minutes talking about, I don't know what order you guys want to go, but like the visuals and the style and how Villeneuve did with like capturing the feel of the novel, and then perhaps the general like how they treated the novel and the content of the novel. So kind of like style and content.
Do you want to do like a modified, almost like a lightning round, so that way we can keep it clipped and just like fast responses?
I'd be down for that. My only issue is I did not Not allowed to interact with your family during the podcast. No. I did not conceive of lightning round questions.
Okay. I didn't know if like maybe just the categories themselves and kind of just throw them out there and we can round table them and then move on to the next one. I don't know. I'm just trying to be...
Yeah.
I think... And I think that'd be a good way to do it for pacing. If Adam, if you just want to like say the topic or the category, like introduce it, and then we'll just kind of go around and discuss and then do the next.
Sure. So that's what I'll do. And I'll give us like a couple seconds of dead air and then, kind of do the normal intro and then throw it out to you guys after the topic. So, all right. Cool. We're aiming for about 20 minutes. Does that sound right?
Yeah, the high end of it.
Okay. All right. So here comes the dead air. All right. Welcome back, nerds. The three of us have just had an experience to discuss over at the IMAX. We went and saw Dune, and we got some thoughts, as one would imagine. Three erudite human beings like us have thoughts about things. So I thought we'd figure, let's start with, what did you guys think about Denis Villeneuve trying to capture the style of the sci-fi world of Dune on the screen?
Well, I would say that I think that in terms of style, it was Dune. It was definitely Dune, but it was also definitely, if you're familiar with, this director's other works, it was definitely distinctly Denis Villeneuve. I mean, the style of his camera work and the editing with the sort of like very yellowy sort of color filter, which is, I think very common to all his films. It definitely looked like a Denis Villeneuve film. But I think it was also very true to Dune. The biggest thing I noticed was just the scale of the thing. Everything was massive. Everything was epic. Everything was huge. And, when we talked about the book, we talked about how it's actually kind of a small story set against like a massive galaxy, universe, history, etc. And I think that really came across in the movie. Very little happened in terms of plot, but stylistically, the scale of the thing was huge.
Mm-hmm. That was the first thing Sean and I commented on. We were sitting next to each other. Sean was stuck in the middle of Mike and I. And I turned afterwards and I'm like, damn, like when those spaceships, the cargo ships are going through that like elongated donut hole to travel through the interspace, like holy shit, everything felt huge.
Yep. Yeah, I think they nailed it. the visual aesthetic just really speaks to the feeling you get from reading the book. I thought it was excellently done. Reminded me a lot of like that old Hollywood, like golden age biblical epic kind of feel, where everything was just a huge piece because money is no object kind of a thing. It just it finally does justice to such a huge story.
So basically, we just needed to wait another 30 years and throw maybe 100 million more at it.
Yeah.
It's a good point, though, Sean, to make that comparison to the old epics that had, the sort of Ben-Hur sort of scale to it.
Exactly.
So let's talk then about the characters and the casting. What did you guys think of the casting? Did they match up with what you saw in the book? Do you feel like they were good choices? I mean, we have no control over this, despite us having a fellowship of a dozen people. But if they had asked you, would you have cast similarly?
I thought that, the cast looks the part, for sure. I was a little surprised at the lack of screen time for a lot of the big names that were in this, notably Josh Brolin, only being there briefly. But I thought the people played their roles very competently. I think, is it Timothy Chalamet, or Chalamet, whatever his name is?
I think it's very French. I think Denis Villeneuve was like, who's the other French guy I can get? And
Timothée Chalamet.
Timothée Chalamet.
Yeah.
Who has all the students, when they bring up Dune sometimes, because a couple of my students in one of my mods are reading it, they're all a Twitter about that boy. So
really? Okay.
Getting a broader audience there.
He was fine. It's funny because we're reading Sandman now as we're talking about this, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, the Sandman kind of looks like that kid in a way.
Oh, no. He's got another movie series.
I thought about that, but I can see that.
Yeah, it's just that gothic kind of, angsty boy.
Yeah.
But, it was fine.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought he did a fine job. I wasn't familiar with the actor prior to this. But he, I think a lot of the stuff that we said about the character when we discussed the book, I thought that came across in the performance. I mean, there was a physical presence there that sort of, it had that like brooding, but also like that dignity. He was, not physically imposing in the way of like a Jason Momoa or a lot of the Warriors, but he also at least looked imposing on the screen when he had to show like leadership and everything. I thought he did well. I thought everybody was pretty good for their parts. I will say that the person who played, or the actress who played Jessica, that's not how I pictured the character when I was reading the book. But I thought she did a great job. That's just not how I pictured the character, but that was just, in my own head. And that's definitely not how I pictured not the governor.
The Na Baron or the Baron?
The Baron, yeah. I did not picture him the way he was represented in the movie at all reading the book. I mean, he seemed more of like a silly, almost comical character to me in the book. Whereas he's very, sort of menacing and imposing in the movie. But I liked that better, honestly.
Yeah.
That's the type of thing where, were I to revisit the book, that's how I would now picture the Baron. And the last thing I'll say while I'm on that subject is, it reminded me very much, Apocalypse Now is like, one of my top few movies of all time.
Mm.
And Brando's performance as Colonel Kurtz, I thought that the Baron, was very reminiscent of that.
Agreed.
Ooh, that's a nice deep cut there.
Yeah.
I was just thinking how much every time the Na Baron spoke, I just kept seeing Drax from Guardians of the Galaxy, but that's just a me issue. That's not that actor's fault. That's me.
I have to correct you on that, Adam. That's not the Na Baron. He wasn't even in this particular film.
Oh, thank you.
That was Rabin, just like his henchman who was sort of ruling in his place. The Na Baron is the young, lithe nephew there that fights in the end. You haven't seen him yet.
I thank you for correcting me. Yeah, that's a good point. Like, maybe that explains also why I was so confused between the Drax and then just mixing up that character, because I was the guy who went into this movie thinking we were going to get the full book, and then within 3 seconds went, fuck, it's a part one? Fine. I understand. I mean, it's a 700-page novel, so I get it. Like, if you're going to do it justice, it's going to have to be 5 to 7 hours a movie. But I was down for that. I was ready.
Speaking of that, it was frustrating for me, like the last probably 45 minutes of the movie, because I knew that it was going to end. And I knew it was going to end fairly abruptly. Mm-hmm. And there was like 10 or 12 points where I thought, like, oh, this could be it. Starting with, the battle where the Harkonnens attack.
Yeah.
As that was wrapping up, and like, I was thinking, like, okay, this could be it. And from that point on, however much was left in the movie, I kept thinking, like, okay, this could be the moment. And it was very stressful, I'll enjoy it more watching it a second time, knowing exactly where it's going to end.
Well, knowing that they're going to make a second one and it's not, a permanent cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah. Well, I think the ending at the Harkonnen attack would have been like the Disney cut.
Right.
Right. So, like, for everybody who's read the book, you get all of the, like, the ships being destroyed, and you see, like, before Gurney Halleck is killed, sacrificing himself, you get, like, him escaping in the Thopter and, like, flying away. That would have been a perfect Disney cut ending right there. That's probably where they would have stopped. But, Villeneuve being a little bit of, the stylistic choice, as well as, like, the emotional director that he is, willing to build a little bit more of the character. Like, I'm sure he had some say in where it got cut.
I think it would have been cool if they would have ended with the sandworm, like, looming over him. Just that big epic shot.
Oh,
that would have been like Dune by Tim Burton or something, Like,
right.
Yeah.
That point, that was one of the 12 points where I was sure it was about to end. The sandworm comes out and looms over them, roll credits. A film by Denis Villeneuve.
Now I want Dune by Tim Burton.
Yeah, there you go. But he was out for like another 25 minutes after that. They the Fremen, and the whole duel happens and everything. By the way, kudos to Sean. In our previous podcast, we had debated the pronunciation, and we had proposed each of us our own pronunciation. I think, Sean, you were the one who said Fremen.
Yeah, I'm going to take the title now. I'm just going to claim it as Chief Nerd Linguist.
There you go. Whenever I need Elfish things translated, I'm going to Sean.
Oh, God, I can't do Elvish. That's all based in Scandinavian. That's all weird.
Yeah. All right, so Klingon. Can I get a Klingon translation?
Kapla.
Okay, I thought so. Very good. All right, so just the second half, the last half here, thinking about, we kind of already transitioned into it. What did the movie leave out or have that the book didn't? That stereotypical, all right, what did they fuck with the text here that we either liked or didn't like? Because both of those can happen.
Can I get in there real quick?
Yeah.
It's just, you said it and it popped into my head, and it's the one scene in the book that to me really resonated with the mythos of Arrakis. And it was that dinner where Leto has all of the people that are important movers and shakers in Arrakis there, and they do the whole water ceremony where they dip their hands in it or whatever, and they throw it on the ground, and it had this symbolic meaning for them, and he was going to upend that tradition because he's going to change Arrakis, but like he wasn't sure the people wanted this, and all the power play there. They completely stripped all that subplot of the person who controlled the poles and like where the water comes from and all of this. It's just gone. Now, I get it. You got to be tight with a narrative on a film like that, and there was just too much to do all of that. But it was one of those things where I think you could have done a really cool movement with like the water in the bowl and throwing the towel, and it's just the way that he drops it on the floor kind of a thing, and it's like, I'm in charge here now. That would have been a really cool moment to see in film, but I was just kind of sad that got cut.
Yeah. I mean, there was definitely some stuff missing that, was done for pacing issues. Obviously, they've talked about this. I'm blanking on the director of Lord of the Rings for some reason.
Peter Jackson.
Thank you. But he's talked about that in Lord of the Rings and all the very painful decisions that they had to make for pacing. And he explains a lot of it well. This is beautiful moments in the text, but how would you depict that without bringing the action to, an absolute dead standstill? The scene you're talking about, I think, could have been done, very well, and might have added something. I think we had talked about, after we watched the film, we had all said, just how quickly we go from moving to Arrakis to having the Harkonnen attack. Whereas in the book, there's an implication that a lot more time passes and they're making inroads with the communities and, that kind of thing. So, these are choices that they made for pacing. I think that some of it you regret if you're familiar with the book. But I gotta say, on the whole, I was remarkably surprised at how true the movie, I thought, stayed to the book. I didn't see, other than some things that got cut, I didn't see any drastic changes. And the little changes that I did see, I mostly approved of. The character who is the planetologist, they changed that character from a male in the book to a female in the movie. Completely approve of that. This, book that needed more female characters, and that was a good one to do it.
Yeah.
And then the duel that ends part one of the film doesn't happen till later in the book. They've already journeyed across the desert and they're like in the community. And this guy's sort of been nagging at Paul for a while before they finally challenge him. But I thought that was a good way to sort of escalate that and help, end part one with Paul already achieving sort of an elevated status there. So I approved of that change too. And beyond that, like I said, I think it was mostly remarkable the text as much as it could be.
Yeah, I have to agree. The pacing was my big issue, only because I wanted to see more development of the relationship with the Fremen. It's going to take me some time to get that pronunciation back under my belt, because I really wanted the New York Freeman to be the case, but fine, I get it. But besides that, I thought, pacing was good. I didn't really see too many decisions either that I thought were bad. It kind of feels like it's already on track to be one of those canonical reproductions that does make some tough decisions, but doesn't cut out like any major incidences or something like that. I think if nothing else, having that battle earlier, in being later in part one, but earlier in what I presume is going to be a 2-part movie series, is that, it lets you jump right into the relationship with Chani right away. Right after that, because I presume we're going to start at Siege Tabur and be like right there with that Paul amassing power. Like we've already kind of tried to make some predictions how it's going to start 4 years from now when it's done.
Yeah.
So, all right. It sounds, like we are all in unanimous agreement about this one being good.
Yeah, I'll say for me that I was very pleased. I am a big fan of the book, and I'm a big fan of the director. And when they announced that was the director that was going to work on the film, I thought you'd be hard pressed to find, if anybody could pull it off, it would be this director. I thought. I think that's as good of an adaptation of Dune as we were ever likely to see. I think there's little things that, we can certainly all nitpick, those of us that have read the book first. But I think in terms of the overall spectacle, as well as capturing the major themes, the performances, the style, I was very pleased with it.
Sean?
I gotta say, it's nice to have a big, epic sci-fi fantasy kind of movie that doesn't involve Disney or Marvel or like the superhero origin story. It was refreshing, something that I haven't seen in a long time. But I will say that while I agree this is probably the best large screen adaptation we're ever going to see, I still think the story itself would be better served as a serialized high-end TV production for HBO or something like that, just because they've proven, many outlets have proven how successful that formula can be. And while I know they did a Dune miniseries before, I think on a sci-fi TV channel budget, which is probably minuscule compared to what we could be done now, I think this would be a better time to attempt it. It could get plotting though, whereas I think the pacing here, like you guys have said, was quick and crisp and it felt good. It would be interesting to see them go a little bit more in depth with a few things. And I think it could be just as good, if not better, if they did it. But I'm happy. It's a great movie.
Yeah.
Looking forward to part 2. It sucks we got to wait 2 years, but
yeah, same here. I jokingly said 4 years earlier, but it's going to be a long 2 years for sure. I'm of the same opinion. HBO Max probably could have done a great job on it and maybe incorporated some of the other Dune books into the series, season 1, season 2, a la like Game of Thrones or something like that, and the series is already done, as opposed to some other TV show series they've done where the books are still not done. So that's right. Fuck you, J.R.R. Martin. I'm going to steal that from Sean right now.
Damn it, Adam, you took my line.
I did. I have nothing else. I'm just kidding. But I think we all are on the same page there. Like, that's maybe like the Worlds of Dune or something like that as a spin-off world series. HBO could totally steal that concept from Marvel doing the world building. We've got the world now. Now dive into the different territories and show us the different sieges and
that very well that could happen because there are several sequels that Frank Herbert himself wrote, and then his son and J.T. Anderson or whatever his name is.
Sure.
But it gets really batshit crazy from what I understand after like the second book or so. So they could go nuts if they wanted to. There's a lot of source material.
Yeah. Well, if HBO does make a series, I think we now have the copyright to say, fuck you. You got to pay us royalties because we had the idea.
Yeah, exactly.
I think now. So
this
we're
counts, right?
Yeah.
This is binding legally.
That's right. This is the poor man's copyright because this is going out on a certain date, and this is when we said it.
Timestamp this bitch.
That's right. That's right.
Binding. I think everyone knows that.
Oh, for sure. All right. Well, nerds, thank you for your time. You've heard from us. It's worth a see if you haven't seen it yet. If you read the book, it's worth a see. If you haven't read the book, what are you doing? Read the book. Go listen to the cast from earlier in the season, then go watch the movie and listen to this cast again, because it'll make much more sense then. All right. We will be back with part 2 of our H.P. Lovecraft series, because there was just too much Lovecraft to stop at. Oh, God, I fucking did a dad joke. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sober.
You're forgiven.
I'm sober, too. That's the worst part.
I know we're in the cocktail half.
I know. But in any case, we'll see you then next episode with some more Lovecraft after this little surpriser. Guys, thanks for your time. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
All
Take care, guys.
Take care.